So this is a very special treat for us, as I've been telling you about. We have Lester has come back to visit from New York. Last time we were here together, and talking about his work, he asked if there would be a time that he could come back and share some of his knowledge about Lightroom and about the filing system that he's developed and how he uses it. And I thought, gosh, that would be perfect for a lot of us. I know a lot of us struggle with this. So he very kindly agreed to come back. I thought the best setting where we would be able to ask questions and actually interact with Lester would be in a Zoom meeting. So that's why we're doing it here. I am recording this and will eventually release it so that the rest of our viewers can get the same opportunity to learn about the system. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lester Lefkowitz, and you got it, my man.
Okay, well, today's project is to see if I can help you folks find your pictures. I have a system where I'm going to show you I can find any one of my photographs in 10 seconds. Sometimes it's only 6 seconds. My feeling is if you have a lot of photographs and you can't find them, then you may as well have not shot them in the first place. And while it is true that we all can find the stuff we shot last week, last month, maybe even last year, after that, you say, well, was it 2022 or is it 2021 and blah, blah, blah. We all go through that. And I think that's a shame. So I'm going to show you a system that I think works for everyone. I have a lot of private Zoom students, and I've shown this to many, many people. They all love it. Some people like it so much they're going to leave me something in their will. It's that good. I have one person I started with recently. She had 103,000 pictures in her Lightroom catalog. But fundamentally, she couldn't find anything. And one of the problems I'm going to highlight is that the default setting in Lightroom is to import things into folders by date. So people have 5,672 folders by date, and they don't remember what date they did anything. So let me get started here. Let me share my screen, and I'm going to give you a little brief history of how this does. And before we start, of course, I want to put in a plug. Some of you, I hope, already have these two books. These are the definitive books in macro and close-up photography. Big deal. There's over 1,700 new photographs shot just for the book in here. Alan has been a fan. I know many of his people have also purchased the books. And if you're interested in any of these books or anything about me, you can go to macrophotographer.net, not com, but macrophotographer.net. And there's all links about the books, about me, about macro photography. And if you want to contact me, there's a link for that. Now, what has nothing to do with macro photography, I'll mention this. Every year I do an overseas photography workshop. Next June, I'm going to be in Tuscany. It's a general interest workshop. It's not about macro photography, but it's about great pictures and having a wonderful time. And we have wonderful places to stay. If anybody's interested, it's next June. And again, with that same link in macrophotographer.net, you can contact me and I can tell you a little more about it. So here's my history of how I started the cataloging system. Back in the day, when I started as a commercial photographer, I shot 8x10 film, 4x5, 2.25, 35 millimeter, black and white, color, negs, transparencies, all this stuff as a commercial photographer. And the issue is, how do you store this stuff? Where do you put it? There was no computer, no digital system. And that was the big problem. How do I file all this stuff? And on top of that, I had a lot of information that I wanted to go along with the project, which is very important for the future. And so what the most important thing was when the client called and said, Lester, remember the shot you did for us 2.5 years ago? Man, it's worth a lot of money if I can find it. So generally we put things in folders, in file cabinets. And the question was, how do you label it? The label is only so long, you can't put a lot of information in it. So a lot of people use the default, which is put things in by date. Now, of course, if you have many years, the better way to put the date in is the year first, then the month and day. Sometimes we put things in by not the date, but by the project we worked on. So if I did a shoot for Ben and Jerry's, maybe you put it in like that. Or maybe you did it for the ad agency you work for. Maybe that was another way of filing stuff. But remember, you could only put one thing down. You couldn't put all this stuff down. And then how do you file it anyway? Or maybe you work with a particular art director a lot. Maybe you filed it by her name. My system, though, was to put it in a folder with a number. And where did that number come from? The next project was 986, and the project after that was 987. And that's the system I started with long before I had digital anything. Well, how do you keep track of what does 985 refer to? Well, here's my system of numbering. I have an 8.5, 11 pad, and I just write down all these numbers. And so the last project I did a few days ago was 10334. So the next shoot I do, next project, the next bugs I photograph will be 10335. That's the system I have. So back in 1985, I got me one of them new desktop computer thingies. And I got started, rightfully so, very, very early. This is one of the first desktop computers that IBM had. And this is what it looked like. You could not do pictures at all. It had this Mickey Mouse. You could do some simple graphics. And the floppy disk held a rousing 360 kilobytes, not megabytes, but kilobytes. And I still have the invoice from this. So it was fun as I looked at the invoice, right? Back in 1985, it was almost $6,500 for the desktop computer. But I had to add another 512 kilobytes of RAM. And so altogether, it was close to $8,000 for a computer that did not do pictures. And just for fun, the other day, I wanted to see what that was worth in today's dollars, right? $22,000 for a Mickey Mouse computer. So things have changed a lot. Mm. And with that, the database, it was a program called Nutshell. And some of you may be old enough to remember something called FileMaker. And Nutshell, became FileMaker. So that was a DOS program. So this was the graphical interface, which was not very pretty, and a lot of command line stuff, but that's what we had at the time. And later on, we got a graphical user interface. This was from Microsoft Access. And so I set this up, and each of these areas is called a field. And so I would put in the date, which made sense. I would put in the title of the system. I work for a company called Robotics Vision System. And there's the client's name. By the way, I must have not taken good pictures because this company is out of business. And then this is where I put in all the information about the shoot. So that in the future, if I was looking for it, all I remember is there was some kind of a solder joint inspection machine, or there was a picture of a man loading them. It was something. I just put in lots of words that in the future would help me possibly find the picture. Because in the database, what was good is you could search on a word, and then it would tell you where the picture was. And so today, that's been translated into Lightroom keywords. And so this job was 2.25 chromes, and that was in the folder of number 818. That's how I could find these if I had to get back to the pictures. Now, today, you don't have to put in the date. Lightroom knows every date you ever took a picture, so there's no need to put things in folders by date. I'm going to show you that. And while I have a numbering system, you actually don't have to renumber your files if you don't want, and I'll explain why later on I do. But the important thing was all this information, which becomes keywords in Lightroom, and that's what we're going to show you. Just for a fun and historic view, this is the room I still have with all my file cabinets that have all these films, and believe it or not, every one of these drawers is full of rows and rows and thousands of sheets of most, in this case, 35 millimeter slides. Now, most of this stuff should be thrown out, and even then it should have been thrown out because these are a lot of outtakes, and we used to bracket like crazy because the exposure had to be dead nuts within a third of a stop in the camera. So we used a lot of film, and you can see there's one there that's been pulled out, and that was sent to New York for $150. I could get a scan for one file, $150, and we get an exabyte tape back to feed into a more advanced computer than the one I showed you. The cut film and the 2.25, so there were boxes for 4x5 and 2.25. And again, it's all based on the numbering system, not by date. Now, when I started working with scanned film on pictures, you can see now there's a column on the right for original scans, and they were burned to CD. And then as I worked on the pictures, what I call retouched, or we call finals, was on different CDs. And this was a job from Microsoft. You can see it was shot on 8x10 film. This was not shot digitally, it was shot on film. There were no digital cameras then. And this is what the project was for. Each one of these is a separate 8x10 shot, which was put together for a week. I had a color darkroom. And this is what inspired me to go digital. High-end digital computers were just coming out, very expensive. But after spending a week in the darkroom, I said, there's got to be a better way. And this is another one that I did for Microsoft. But at the time, when we started to scan film, again, burned it to CDs. CDs, these drawers still exist today. They have rows and rows of CDs. And again, the same thing, they're all labeled with numbers. And today, of course, all of this stuff has been transferred to hard drives. This is just a few of the hard drives that I've accumulated over the years, and probably more that aren't even in this picture. What's good now is they've gotten bigger, smaller, and cheaper. So now I'm using these 5 terabyte drives, and you can see there's one that says originals, and then one that's a backup of the originals. And I have a third set offsite in case my house burns down. And actually, I just started A3. So I filled up 10 terabytes of stuff. Now, it is true, as somebody mentioned when we were chatting, that I have far more originals than I do finals. So I'm still only on one 5 terabyte drive for the finals. I'm on my 3rd terabyte drive for the originals. Now, if you go into your Finder or File Manager and you look on that hard drive, you can see that there are folders, and not by date, but folders by number. And so in Lightroom, it will tell me that a particular picture is number 9182. And if I want to go back to the originals, I open up folder. They're not in Lightroom. I just opened up folder, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let's say I wanted to go back to the originals. I shot these macro pictures of what I call an orange dot fungus in miniature mushrooms, and I shot them at all different magnifications, and I focus bracketed. So I have a lot of originals that looks like this. So in that folder, there are hundreds and hundreds of originals. Now, I'll probably never go back, but if I do want to, and storage is so cheap, I can always go back and do the focus stacks again and tweak it if I'd like. I would say 99% of the time, I have never had to go back to the originals. But what the heck, I keep all the stuff. Now, the problem in Lightroom, this is the import screen. Problem with Lightroom is the default is you organize things by date. And I think, as I'm saying here, that's not too smart. And this is the default. It says organized by date. When I become president of the world, I'm going to eliminate this. It's not allowed. So this is what happens if you use the default by date. If you look on the left side of a Lightroom screen under folders, over here, you're going to see all these dates because Lightroom puts things into folders by the date you shot it. And so in 2024, if you're prolific and you're shooting a lot, it's just every time you take a picture on a different day, you have a different folder. And that is nutso. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. So the system I use, and you can change the default instead of by date, it says organize into one folder. That's it. And I'm going to show you that my thousands of pictures are into one folder. That's it. No subfolders, no nothing. Now, what I do use in Lightroom, of course, and I guess a lot of you folks do, is you use collections, right? So here's a typical collection for me. And the nice thing about collections is that you can add and subtract and delete, and you can just play with this. And this is where we all keep the projects that we're working on. And if we do delete collection, we can always go back and find it, because when you say delete in a collection, it just takes it out of the collection. It doesn't take it out of Lightroom. So that's the overview of how I got there. And now I'm going to do a demonstration of exactly how it works. Let's see if I can get this done here. And now I'm going to switch to Lightroom. Are you seeing the Lightroom screen? Yeah, I see some heads shaking. I guess we're okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just show you over here now. This is one of two catalogs I have. And you can see here that this has got 43,423 pictures. This is not, I have a separate catalog for macro, and then this is everything else, all my commercial work, all my travel, all my teaching. And if you go down here, you can see that under folders, unlike most people, I have one folder. The hard drive is called Little Blue, and there's the 43,423 pictures. Now, it's called JPEGs because the system I have is I'll work on pictures and I'll keep the final usually as a TIFF in Lightroom. But to keep the catalog smaller and faster, once in a while when I'm bored, I'll export all the TIFFs out of Lightroom to a temporary folder, but I export them as a JPEG. I go back into Lightroom and delete all the TIFFs, and then I suck the JPEGs back in. So it's the same. I use high quality JPEG. If you do it right, you don't lose any keywording. But 99% of the time, a high quality JPEG with all the pixels is more than adequate for anything I do. Short of making 3-foot wide prints, there's just no need for the big TIFFs anymore. But again, in my filing system, if I do need the TIFF, I can always go back and get it. So everything you see in my Lightroom are high quality JPEGs, but you don't have to do that. That's just my fanaticism. And then that's it. There's only one folder. And then of course I have, I have all these collections. Oops, like this, right? And so these are collections I have. And Dr. Alan Walls, who the heck is that? Some guy, Ariel. So these are all collections that I could add and subtract to. So that's the way it works. So let me show you more about this stuff. Okay, so for example, here's a picture, and you can see that this is why I'm a famous macro photographer. And if I come over here and you look at the keywords, all the information about this shoot is here. I shot it on 56th Street and West Side Highway. It was a construction garage for the New York City Department of Sanitation. I put in keywords I-beams, industrial, New York City, steel girders, Tully Construction Company, welder, welding, and workers. And so it's a pretty good chance that no matter what I remember, I may not remember it was on 56th Street. I may not remember it was a garage, but I'm looking for a picture with steel girders. And so I can just check that keyword and be able to find it. And then, of course, down here, you scroll down more, is, it was all the metadata, and this will tell me, the exposure information if I need that. It's focal length of the lens, the exact date I shot it is all here. It was with a Nikon D2X, and somewhere down here, it'll have all the exposure information. I mean, the lens focal length. Oh yeah, here it is, right here. So I don't have to enter any of this data. When you go click, as you probably know, the camera records this EXIF data, and that's what Lightroom knows. And so you don't have to put in the date, and you don't have to put in anything else other than the keywords that you want for yourself to find pictures in the future. Okay, next step. Again, it's tricky because I don't know what you folks know and don't know, so I apologize if some of this is redundant. If you go up here to metadata, up here, and let me get our Zoom menu out of the way for me. And if you look under metadata, under date, Lightroom lists every single day you ever took a picture. And if you want to know, what you did in 2019, it breaks it down by January, and over here it tells you how many pictures you made on every single day. Let's see if I can shrink this a little bit so you can see it better. Once more. So on January 4th, I had 4 pictures. On April 16th or 6th, September, I was very prolific, evidently. I had 290 pictures I shot on September, and you can break it down by date. So on Thursday, I shot 66 pictures that are in Lightroom, and on Friday, I shot 88. So if I click on that one, these are the 88 pictures that obviously, this is Florence. So you don't have to record the date or put things in folders by date, because this is effectively a zillion folders with every day you ever took a picture. The problem with this system is if you don't use keywords, whether you have them in folders on the left or you have them up here, is people saying, when I'm looking for a particular picture, was it 2016? And then you go to open up all the folders, or maybe it was May in 2000. No, that's not it. Maybe I shot it in maybe 2017. Maybe I think it was August, right? And no, that's certainly not it. This was some lecture stuff. Damn. And this is what most people go through if they don't use keywords, because they're opening up folders and folders and folders, and they spend half their life looking for pictures. So that is not a system that works very well for me. I'm looking at my notes here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm looking for a picture. I decided of this old gentleman with a beard I met in Argentina, right? And I'm looking on all these. And when was I in Argentina? Oh God, was it 2016 or 2017? Maybe it was 2018, I think, right? And so was it in January? I have 4,300 pictures in January of 2018. It's not going to, and I look in that, well, hold on. I mean, this is clearly not Argentina. This is India. So, but I think it was 2018. Maybe it wasn't January. Maybe it was, well, it's a lot in March. Maybe it was March. Okay. So here it is. These are Argentina. I finally, after going through all those dates, I finally found this is a famous bookstore and an old theater in Argentina. But there are 1,058 pictures I have to go through for looking at this old guy in Argentina, and that's crazy. So what I'm going to do instead is close this down. And now I'm going to go up here to keywords. By the way, they call this the library filter. I think it should be called the finder. And if you don't see it on your Lightroom screen, it's the backslash key. Backslash key makes it come and go. So text, I'm going to search on a keyword. And now if I search just contains Argentina, just type in Argentina, all right, all this stuff comes up. But if I look at all of this, here's part of the problem is this is not what I want. It turns out that this picture is from a trip I did, actually a different year. I was in Ushuaia, which is the tip of South America, where I got on a boat to go to Antarctica. And so the picture I'm looking for is not in this Argentina group. So I've got too many Argentina pictures. So what I'm going to do is type in up here, not just Argentina, but I'm going to type in portrait. Like that. And boom, there's my 10 seconds to find the picture I'm looking for. It's that wonderful. Now, if we come over to the scroll up here to see the keywords that I used, there it is. Argentina, beard, bench. The guy was sitting on the bench. Buenos Aires, candid, man, people, portrait, South America. Put in as many words as you can think of. People say, oh, I'll remember it. No, you will not remember it. Next month, Alzheimer's is going to, kick in and you're going to be in big trouble. So put in lots of words. The beauty of this system is you don't have to type it for every single picture. What you do is these are all the pictures from that little get together with this man. So you highlight all the pictures and you just type those words in once. Now, what I recommend is you can do it as you import. I'm going to show you how to do that. Or after the fact, which is what probably most of you will have to do now, you can do it later on. So you don't highlight just one picture, but you highlight a whole bunch, type the words once, and you're done. I'm going to show you lots of fast ways, autofill, words you've used before that pop up. And it's a very, very quick system. Lightroom has done an enormous amount to make keywording very, very efficient and simple and friendly. So that's the, just the way I can find things quickly. When was the eclipse? I don't remember. Was it last year, the year before? But if I type in eclipse, I can scroll through, and here's the picture I'm looking for, just like that. Again, it took 5 seconds to find that picture. And I also have these are all the pictures that were, well, this was a lunar eclipse, a different time, but everything from here to all the way down here was for the eclipse. So I only have to type the keywords once, and it gets appended to all of that, including, pictures of my friends who came down to Texas with me. And again, coming over here and checking the keywords. So I went with my nephew. It was in Gatesville, Texas, something I will never remember after a few months. And my friend Larry came with his daughter, and it's a solar eclipse in Texas. And so if I type in any of those words, boom, it comes up. And that's the beauty of this system, as well as all the information about how it was shot. So if we scroll down here, it tells me that's when it was added to Lightroom. But if you come over here, it was a 500th of a second exposure at f14. It was obviously, we did not shoot flash. The focal length of these different pictures, well, it's clicked on. Let me do something here. Let me take one of these. This is what's important, just this one picture, and come back over here. And so now on this one, you can see that the focal length was, effective focal length was 860 millimeters, 867. And you can see I took it with my Fuji 7300 millimeter lens with a 2x teleconverter. That's all here. I didn't have to put it in. The camera, EXIF, and Lightroom knows all about that. ISO 400, all that kind of stuff. So all I had to do was put in the keywords, and I put the keywords into that whole batch of pictures by just typing it once as I imported them into Lightroom. That is the system. So I can find things very, very quickly. Okay, so that's for this catalog. Most of you are more interested in macro photography than solar eclipses. So let me switch catalogs now to my macro catalog. Before I switch, does anyone have any questions right now before I switch? Any questions yet?
I have a question on the keywording. You see, do you select the images in the Lightroom in a group and then put a keyword, or do you individually put keywords for each photo?
Okay, so now what I do is wherever I can, I do the whole group at once because these all get exactly the same keyword. But let's take this example. So it's a good question. Okay. All of these, except the ones on the top. This is a lunar eclipse years ago. So every one of these, from here to the end, is all about the solar eclipse in Texas. And so all I have to type in solar eclipse, Gatesville, Texas, that's it. But if I then wanted to specifically put in a picture of my friend, I have two pictures of Larry here, then I would just highlight these. Well, here's Larry, and here's Larry. Then, since these already have the Gatesville solar eclipse, Texas, I would just add Larry to those words too. So again, wherever you can, I do things in batches and then maybe subsets where I need specific terms. And when you import them, generally, you have to just have generic terms. I'm going to show you that in a few minutes. But once I bring it into Lightroom, then I can fine tune the keywords with each picture or group of pictures if appropriate. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that's what I do. Actually, I just want to confirm with you because I have about 50,000 macro, mostly photo macrographs.
Okay, good.
By category, I put keywords for the disease, the type of the diagnosis, things like that. So I have multiple keywords, so I can get exactly what I need in that 50,000 archived images.
Boy, I love you, man. In fact, you could teach this class because you are doing it exactly the right way. It's all that information is there. For 50,000 pictures, you can find anything, right?
Right.
Good for you. You get a gold star. Okay.
I have a quick question, Lester.
Yes.
So can you put copyright information into the keywords?
Well, no, Lightroom will do it for you. I'm going to do a demonstration. And as I import it, it automatically glues my copyright to every picture in the metadata. And you can even put a nasty note that says, if you steal this picture, I'm going to sue you. That's a joke. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to do an import demonstration. Let me switch to the other catalog now. So I'm going to go to File, Open Catalog. And now I'm going to go to, I made a separate catalog once I did the books, which is a lot of pictures. I made a separate Lightroom catalog. Or it says Lightroom Macro Photos and Lightroom Macro Photos. I'm going to move this Zoom thing out of the way. Relaunch. Skip back up. Lightroom opening catalog. So hopefully now you see the new catalog. Everybody see the new Lightroom catalog?
Yes.
With the bugs? Okay, so now we're in the macro catalog, right? And again, the beauty of this is if I want to find anything, is Harold with us? Harold was one.
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
Lester, I'm here.
Good for you, Harold. By the way, I keep sending you emails and you don't respond. I think my stuff is going into your junk folder. I sent you one a few days ago, so you might check that. Anyway, Harold wanted to know about the copy stand that I built. It shows in the book. So if I put in copy stand, just like that, all the copy stand pictures show up so that when people ask me, how to do it, and these are pictures taken on a copy stand. Oh, let me do this. Contains all. That narrows it down. So here's the picture of how to build a copy stand, just like that. And if I want to find the one that Harold, I think, built, he built something like this. Again, all the pictures are here. I can get access to it right away. If I'm looking for this picture of a grasshopper. By the way, again, on the left here, you can see I have 6,211 pictures in just one big folder. I have a lot of collections, but I only have one folder. So I'm looking for the picture of a grasshopper. And the beauty of searching by keyword is you don't have to spell out the whole word. If you're not sure how to spell it, you can just put contain instead of contains, and you can just put part of the word. So if I put in hopper, right, all this stuff comes up. I hope everyone here is over 18. And that's the picture I'm looking for. And there are a bunch of other hopper pictures here. Here is the wing of another hopper. Now, what's interesting is that somebody just asked, all of these from here to here were taken with the same preserved specimen. So if I come over here and look at the keywords, you can see all the information in the book, what chapter it's in, not that you would have that need, but it was a depth of field example. This is a female. I use focus stacking. It was all about lighting, but most of the things here is the Latin identification. Here is the common identification. It was in volume 2, and some of these are pictures of wings. So a lot of these needed exactly the same. Now, what's interesting, you may not know this, I've highlighted a whole bunch of them. Wherever there's an asterisk, it means only some of those pictures are using that particular word. If you said, gee, I made a mistake, they should all be using that word, or you come over here and just delete the asterisk, and then that word will apply to all of them. So that's how the system works. And of course, you can always add more keywords in the future if you want to add something new that you forgot. That makes it easy. So that is again how I find things. I can just do one more example here. This is I'm looking for a millipede, or is it a centipede? And I don't know how to spell millipede. Is it the one L or two L's? But let's see if I put in milli. There it is. There it is. This is my friend the millipede. And again, the important thing is if I come over here and check the keywords, tells me where it's in the book, but it was taken in Costa Rica. It's generically listed as an insect. It was taken at the La Selva Biological Research Station with the naturalist Lloyd Davids. It was a macro. I used a macro lens. It's a millipede, and it's on page 240 in volume 1. And down here, again, will tell me, there's the exposure information, 1/25 of a second at f/22. No flash, it was available light. And it was taken with an 80 millimeter lens with a 2x teleconverter on March 7th, 2022 at 9:33 and 31 seconds in the morning. I did not have to enter any of that data. All I entered was the keyword information. Okay, so now we're going to do something very important. I'm going to show you the proper way to import pictures into Lightroom so you can start adding keywords very, very quickly. So I'm going to go to the import screen. And I have a Lexar. Now, I phonied this up. This is not really out of the camera. I just put a bunch of my pictures in here on this Lexar drive. And now there is something that is germane to all of these. These were not taken on the same day, but they were all taken in the same place. And you can see that's going to be a key to the keywording. So one of the things I recommend is before you even bring these into Lightroom, remember, this is just showing you what's on the thumb drive or on your memory card in the camera. So what I like to do is quickly go through them and eliminate the junk. I know most of us have some junk a little bit, like it's totally out of focus. The wind moved, you went click and the insect took off. The lens cap was on. And you want to bring in as little as you can because we have too much stuff to begin with. So, down here, you can click on the first picture and click on here. And just using the arrow keys, which is very fast, just use the arrow keys. You can go through all and say, keep a maybe. But if it's not worthy of anything, just get rid of it. And so, yeah, you know what? I hate this picture. I don't want to use it. It's out of focus. It's terrible. So what you can do is you come down here and you can see there's a check mark box. If you just uncheck it and then you go back to all the pictures, you'll see that one has not been checked. So you will not import that. It will be left in the trash, so to speak. So I do a quick go through before I bring it into Lightroom to minimize the junk that I have. And believe me, I still have a lot of junk. Especially like when I focus bracket, very often, the first 10 shots are totally unnecessary, and sometimes the last 20 are not necessary either. So I can minimize what's coming in that way. Anyway, that's a suggestion. You don't have to do it. Now let's come over here on the right side and let's look at what's going on. This is the most important stuff. So if you don't know what smart previews are, you can ask a question, but I'll bypass that for now. If you want to make a second copy, when you bring pictures into Lightroom, the originals don't go in Lightroom, they go on usually on an external hard drive, and some people make a second copy to a second hard drive, which is okay. No collections this time. Now, here's my numbering system, which again, you don't have to do. Right now, when you take pictures in your camera, it goes up to DSC 9999 and starts all over again at 1. And over the years, you're going to wind up with a number of pictures that have the same file name. Now, Lightroom is smart enough to know that that's not a problem. piece of cake. You don't have to worry because it knows they're different pictures. But as a professional photographer, I want a unique number for every picture, so that when a client calls 3 years from now, they usually know the picture number, or I'll make a print and they have the number part of the file name. They can say, Lester, I need another copy of picture number 4278. And so that's a unique number for every picture. You don't have to do that if you don't care about having a unique number. But the way it works in Lightroom makes it very, very simple, is that it says custom name and sequence. So if I'm going to give it my custom name, in fact, is I go to my pad of numbers and I say the next number is, and in this case, so I can remember to get rid of this example later on, I'm just going to call it 99999. And you can see when I do that, Lightroom says it's going to start with number 1, and it's going to number the pictures. The first one will be -1, -2, -3, -4. So this automatically takes out the DSC numbers and puts in my numbering system. But again, you don't have to do this. You can just leave the number. Okay, so now somebody asked about putting the copyright information, right? So here's where it is. If you have set this up, so I have under my metadata, LL, my initials, right? And I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to go to edit. You're going to see what that looks like. And let me get rid of this. So when you set up a metadata preset, it says edit metadata preset. This is a list of all the presets that you can put in, which will attach itself as metadata to your pictures. Now, most of this was set up, it's called IPTC information, which stands for International Photographers Telecommunications Convention or Committee. And digital photographers, photojournalists set this up so that when they send files in from the field, all this information about them in the picture is metadata on. Most of the stuff, we don't need that. We don't have headlines and description writers and category and stuff like that. But what I do have here, what I have put in is, if you can see this probably pretty well, is I have just my copyright information. Copyright status is copyrighted. And if you want to contact me, here's my URL. So this automatically, when you bring in pictures now, all I have to do is click, yes, I want metadata. And this template, which has been set up, I never have to do it again, appends itself to every one of my pictures. Question?
Yes, I have a question. How do you say something is copyrighted? Do you have to send it somewhere?
Well, by law in the US, at the instant you go click, you are legally the owner of the copyright, which doesn't give you a lot of leverage. If you really want to protect your copyright and sue somebody and get a lot of money, then you have to register the pictures with the Copyright Office. And that's another whole project, which I've done in the past. But officially, when you go click, you own the copyright. And if it's someone innocently used it, or maybe something local, you can write them a nasty letter and say, hey, this picture is copyrighted, you owe me $150. And that might be adequate. But if they ask their lawyer will say, good luck, because the pictures weren't filed with the Copyright Office. Okay? So it's usually not appropriate for most people. As a commercial photographer, I did do that. It's a lot of work. And it costs you money.
Lester.
Yes.
If you were to add the GPS to the metadata, can you search to an area around a GPS location? Say, within 10 miles of this?
All right. That's a very good question. Lightroom has a way of searching if there's embedded GPS data. I have never used that feature, but it's in Lightroom. I know that, and people have used it. It will show you not just nearby, it'll show you, what street you were standing on when you took the picture. And I can only tell you that I know it's there, but I have not used it. So you might want to do a little research on that. That's valid. A lot of people are doing it. What people are doing, if your camera doesn't do it internally, there's a way of linking your phone to your camera and adding the GPS data that way. And that's about as much as I know. So it can be done. I know Lightroom can search by GPS data. There's a map somewhere in Lightroom, but I don't know nothing about it. Sorry. Any other questions? Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to over here now. Okay, so we've added the metadata. Again, I only have to do it once. And now here is the most important thing to do. Right? This is where, yeah, look at my notes here. This is where we're going to put the thing. Now, again, put in as many keywords as possible that is germane to all of these pictures. Now, we've got flowers and leaves and bugs, so you can't use that right now because they're not all the same. But what is the same for all of these is these were shot at the Planting Fields Arboretum near me, a wonderful place. So watch, if I start writing in, you see, it's got autofill. Since I've used these words before, I don't even have to type it and make typos. I just click here and it's there. Now, by the way, when you do keywords, you should do comma space. You don't need the space, but it makes it easier to look at. Where is the Arboretum? It's in Oyster Bay, New York. Now, as soon as I start typing oyster, again, Oyster Bay comes up, makes it very, very fast. Where is Oyster Bay? It's on Long Island, right? So Long Island will come up. Where's Long Island? It's in New York. Now, by the way, spell out the word, because if you put in NY and you can search on NY, you're going to find a lot of words that may have the two letters NY next to each other. So I always spell out the whole location. It's also on the Arboretum is on the former Coe Estate. See, Coe Estate came up because I've shot there a lot before. Okay. Now, there may be things that will help you remember the situation of where or why you photographed. Maybe, which of course is not true in this case, maybe there was a snowstorm. Put it in. It doesn't cost anything, right? Maybe I was there on my birthday. Put it in. It doesn't cost anything, and maybe it was sponsored by the American Garden Society. Put in a lot of words. People tell me, my students say, oh, don't worry, I'll remember. You will not remember, and it takes a second to attach the keywords to 35 photos all at once. It's that simple. And as we scroll down here, again, it's going to go into one folder. You know, the default was by date, and that is against the law. Put it into one folder, and that one folder is on my little blue hard drive. That's it, and it's called Big Files. So on the little blue hard drive, everything is in big files for macro photos. That's it, one big folder. And so we're done with that. And now I just click the import screen. Boom. And here they come. Right, they come in very, very, very quickly. So now you've got these in here. They all have the same keyword, Planting Fields, Oyster Bay, Long Island, blah, 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 blah. But now I would start segregating them by more specific keywords. So this is a flower, and this is a flower, and this is a flower, and that's a flower, and that's a flower, and that's a leaf, that's a flower, that's a flower, that's a flower, that's a flower. All right, you get the idea, right? So you can do them in groups or randomly. And so now I come over here. And now, by the way, you can, doesn't let me add a keyword while I'm in magnified view. That's interesting. Too bad. All right, I guess I'll have to unmagnify it. Okay, guys, why is it letting me add keywords?
I usually have to use the spray can at the bottom to click on them.
No, yeah, I know what that is. I'm going to show you that, but what's going on here? This is not, let me just see. well, here, if I, oh, I added the word fly, but I should be able to click in here. I do this, 1,000 times a day. It's Alan's fault. He broke my computer. Keyword tags.
It was my computer I broke.
Isn't that weird? I mean, I've even practiced this, but this is
What's that drop down arrow on the top right there?
no, that just
No,
yeah.
actually, there's a.
Oh, hold on. Enter keywords. There you go. All right, I just showed you what you have to do.
Okay.
Enter keywords. Thank you, Ellen. Yeah, so I added. You can add the word flower for just these. Now, if I want to do this one, this is an insect, and this is an insect, and this is an insect, right? So just click over here and add the word insect. It's that simple, especially if you, by the way, there is no spell check, and I wish there was. So if you don't spell things correctly, you're going to have trouble. But that's why when you do a search, if you know it's there and it doesn't come up, just spell part of the word, probably because you made a typo. So that's an important hint. Now, so that's generally the way you segregate things, and you can get as minute and specific if you know the type of flower. I would call this red center, and maybe its Latin name. You can put all that specific information in if you want. But at least when we brought it in, the big batch, always put some keywords in, and then you can segregate it later. This, by the way, is the system that you use for pictures you already have in Lightroom that don't have keywords. That's the plan. Let me say now that for those of you who don't have a keyword system in, and you have 72,000 pictures, adding keywords to all 72,000 sounds like a daunting task, and it is, even if you could do them in batches. The first thing I'll say is, don't worry about that. Starting tomorrow on the new pictures you made, do keywords to everything new. And then on a rainy day, when you're bored, when there's nothing good on television, you can open up Lightroom and just spend 10 or 15 minutes and work backwards from the oldest to the newest and slowly begin to add keywords. And that's a system I recommend to people. And a lot of people have done it. And over the years, people are very, very happy because they can finally find their work. Okay, let me just show you now some things that help you to add more keywords. Again, the whole idea is to do things faster. All right, so come over here. Okay, now, right below the keywords is something called keyword suggestions. These are words that Lightroom has noticed in the last bunches that words that you've been using. So you don't enter these 9 words, but as you enter keywords, as words crop up, these get populated. And so instead of typing the word, all you do is click on the word, and then it will go into the keyword list. You don't have to type it. So that's just an ongoing and constantly changing group of words. Another thing you can do is make your own keyword sets. These are 9 words that you define that you may be using a lot on some project. So I know Alan has a thing for Beatles. So he might want to have a set at something like this. And unfortunately, I wish it was more than 9, but Lightroom only allows you to put in 9. What it does allow you to do is have other sets. So I made up some other sets here. For example, you can have one I made up, it's called Macro 2. And so these might be words that you would use as generic macro pictures for yourself. And you can constantly edit and change these sets as you want. A lot of people usually have one for their family, right? So you can have that, and again, you don't have to constantly type in your relatives' names, and you can do that all the time. And you can always edit. Where is it? Edit a set. You can edit the set, and you can change the set, right? So you don't have to stick with it, right? When Stan gets out of jail, you can change that too. So anyway, so that's again another very, very helpful way that you can add keywords quickly, but it goes further. There, over here, is something called the keyword list. All right, and this is a list of every keyword you've ever used. It just goes on and 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 on, right? So if you click on amphibian, for example, if I click this arrow, all the pictures with the word amphibian comes up just like that. Ammonite, if I'm looking for that, where's the arrow? There's the arrow. So these are all the pictures of the ammonite that came up. So this is a list if you want to remember, especially when you have complicated words or biological specimens and things like that. If you're not sure exactly what you called it and you don't want to put in something that's not quite right, this is a great way of finding the exact Latin name or the exact terminology that you've used so that it matches all the others when you have new specimens that are of the same type. So this keyword list is very, very helpful. I use that all the time.
So Lester, that's your keywords that you have in your system already, or you create this list as well?
No, the list is automatically created
from my stuff.
From any keyword I've ever typed gets populated automatically by Lightroom.
Got it.
All right, so it's really helpful. I remember with Harold the other day, he was asking me the name of a photographer who had some great pictures, and I couldn't remember this guy's name. But what I should have done, because I just somehow remember it started with an A, right? And sure enough, if I look, here it is. Here's the guy's name. And Harold, you'll recognize these pictures. And so it's really helpful when you're having trouble finding something and you know a little bit about it. It populates it in alphabetical order. Now, if I didn't remember the guy's first name or began with an A, then this wouldn't have been successful. Another thing you can do, by the way, with this list, on the right, when you click the right arrow, it shows you the pictures that use that word. But if you have a bunch of pictures and you want to add the word amphibian to it, now you click over here on the left side, and that will append that word to all the new pictures. So the right side shows you the pictures that have the word. The left side lets you append that word to all the pictures that you've highlighted. So again, very fast, very powerful, and again, it allows you to be accurate in the wording that you used. All righty, keep going. We're not done. Now, somebody mentioned the spray can, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So down here on the bottom, and Lightroom calls it the paint can, but everyone else calls it, or they call it the painter, but it's actually, we call it the spray can. So let me close this out here. Okay, so you now go down. Oh, that's all junk here. Oh, let me spray. I want to spray on the. Oh, by the way, I can always go previous import. So these are the ones I've just worked on. So if I don't have time to do all the keywords, the new batch, I come back tomorrow. I click on previous import, and that just shows me the last batch I've worked on, which is very, very handy. So I come down here, and this is what Lightroom calls the painter, but everyone calls it a spray can. And let me zoom in here so you can see better. Right, and so here's the spray can. You click on here, and then you come over here, and I'm going to spray on keywords, and I'm going to, type in a keyword here. And so maybe you have some fancy insect here. This is a totally made-up word. It's a Mysticarius rutabagus. And the beauty of that now is to do it really, really quickly, as somebody suggested, is that I take the spray can. You can see the spray can has to be on the picture in the middle. But first you do is you click on the picture. Well, let's say it's this insect. You click on the picture, and then you click with the spray can, and it appends. See, it says assign keyword. So that keyword is now on this insect. And I can come over here if it's the same insect and go click over here. And I can come over here and click on here, and it's the same insect over here. And if I click on this flower, which is obviously not an insect, and click over here, that keyword now, if I come up and look over here, that keyword is over here, Mysticarius rutabagus. So it's a really fast way of putting on keywords that are randomly all over your Lightroom thumbnails. So again, another fast way of adding keywords to things. I'm going to
Lester,
yes.
I think you can go and highlight about 10 and just click on one of them. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that is true. Good point. Anything you do in Lightroom, you can do to 1, 3, or 100 at the same time. That's a really important point. That makes it very efficient. So instead of the random one is good if you know they're all over the place. But if they're near each other, yes, I could click on this one, and this one, and maybe this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. And you're right. Whatever you do to one, since all the others are highlighted, will happen when you just click on one of them. And that's true for keywording. It's true for adding stars and color bars and all that kind of thing. Yeah, that's how you work efficiently. If you had to do things one at a time, you would die. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's really important to do things in batches, not onesie. But I'm going to show you right now what happens if after you've done these and you come back next week and you say, oh, darn, I missed a few. I should have done that and I forgot to do it. You don't have to type all this stuff in again. Let me show you an example of what's that. And I happen to have this as a file number. So in this case, instead of searching on a keyword, I'm going to search on the file name because the file name that I want to get at is 9861. And that's now, why didn't this work? Okay, here's an example. Because I'm looking at all the pictures in the previous import here on the left, and this picture is not in previous import, it's in all the photographs. And when people have trouble finding things, it's usually because they're not searching through all photographs. And now if I do that, there it is, there's 9861. Now, the problem here is this first picture has keywords, but this picture, which is just a close-up version, in this picture, they have no keywords. Darn. Well, yes, you could literally, you could copy and paste this like you do on a Word document, but a better way to do this, again, I'm going to show you. So this is the one I have keywords for, and this one has no keyword, and this has no keyword. Obviously, it's the same subject. So what you do is you click on the first one, and that we call becomes the parent, and then you highlight the other two. Oops, let me turn off the painter. That was bad. And then you highlight the other two. And you notice the parent is bright white border, whereas this is a light gray. So I'm going to synchronize whatever here, I'm going to synchronize to these two. So you go 1, 2, 3, you push the button down here that says sync, and boom. Now you'll get this list. You only have to do this once. You go all the way down to the bottom, and you check the box that says keywords, and then you'll never have to do this again. And in fact, it's showing you the keywords that's in the parent. But you won't have to, once you check this, it's checked forever. So now I'm going to say synchronize. And now if I look at this picture, which had no keywords, and this picture, which had no keywords, they have exactly the same keywords that belong to this one. So that's another way of going back and making sure your keywords are the same for the same pictures that you forgot to add keywords for in the past. So again, you find the parent, highlight that, and then you highlight the children, hit sync, and boom, all the keywords are added. One more thing I want to show you when we're almost done is what a lot of people don't know is you can write a whole story about a picture and then search on it. So let me go back to previous import. Okay, and let's say we want to do something about this picture, right? So you first of all, to do this, you have to be in the thumbnail view. And you go all the way down here. We don't need the keyword list anymore. And you come down here, and I'm going to... Now, to do this, you have to be not on the EXIF data, but you want to be on EXIF and IPTC, because the caption field does not exist in EXIF data. So make sure you're on EXIF IPTC, and then come down here, caption. Here we go. Here's a caption. What a lot of people don't know is you can write really important information about a project you've worked on, how you shot it, anything you want. Keywords are fine for, by the way, you don't write sentences in keywords. You always just want 1 or 2 words, comma, 1 or 2 more words, comma, compound words. But if you really want a story or something that you want to remember about this project or how you built it or set it up or, real details, you can sit here and write a whole caption, all thousands of words if you want. And believe it or not, you can search on any word in that caption and find the picture. This is fantastic. Very few people that I know use this. So let's write a caption, okay? All right, keep going.
So Lester, do you ever dictate this instead of typing?
I don't know if there's a way of doing that.
It's in the keyboard. You just go to the keyboard and turn on dictation. Under settings.
Is it a Mac setting or?
It's in the Mac, yeah.
It's in the Mac. Go ahead.
I think it's just in you in settings for the for the computer. You just go down to the keyboard.
Right.
There's a box where you just check on start dictation.
Boy, I'm glad I do these lectures because I learned so much. It's fantastic. I love it. Thank you for the tip.
You're welcome.
All right, that is great.
Okay, so how do you get that little zoom window?
Pardon me?
How do you get the little zoom window?
Spend a lot of time. Quick story. When I used to do these presentations a few months ago, I was still using a PC. And on Windows, there's a key shortcut that would zoom in, and I had no trouble. People on the other end of the Zoom meeting, they could see it. So I was practicing this the other day, and my brother was my Zoom client. And even though you can set it up on a Mac, that there's you hold down Control and scroll the wheel, and it zooms in, and it's great. I could see everything all over the screen, zoom in, zoom out real fast. But my brother on the other end of the Zoom, he said, I'm not seeing any of your Zoom stuff. He's just seeing the whole screen. So we spent a lot of trouble trying to find out. We came up with, it's a Mac setting, and it's picture in picture. And I don't want to spend the time explaining how we got there. If you want to know, send me an email, seriously, and I'll tell you exactly where the controls are. Like someone just told me how to set up the dictation. I'll show you how to set up the Zoom screen. You can change the size, you can change the magnification. It's really very helpful. And the good thing is that it worked via Zoom, whereas all the other ways of zooming in on the Mac screen just didn't work for the Zoom recipients on the other end.
Thank you.
And what's also important, of course, is for a lot of us, we have very complicated setups, right? So we can put down, okay, so now you can put all the information that you want about a particular project. Cool? Okay, so now we're done with this. And it is very, very helpful. It really is. So now let's find out. Now, a year later, you want to look up those pictures, right? And so let's go up to text. Now, in this case, instead of file name, we're going to search on caption, right? And I'm just going to type in Washington. And there it is. So any word, Martha, his wife, invasive species, anything that I've typed in that big, long caption, I can search on. And so again, this is a powerful tool for people who really want to put in a lot of information and then access it, especially in the future. And of course, you can always go back and add it later on. But man, this is fantastic. And now that I can talk into it instead of typing, it's even better. No, that's really great. I just love that. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
That is really good.
Lester, may I ask a question?
Yes. Mhm.
Where are these keywords kept? I mean, in terms of backing up and what have you.
Well, okay. Well, another important question. Up here, let me go up here. Yeah, they are part of the Lightroom catalog, right? And they also, if you're not careful, they're only part of the catalog. So of course, when you back up the catalog, they're there. But what you really want them is you want them to stick to the picture, so that when you export a picture and you open it up in Photoshop or some other program, or you send it to someone, the keywords are still glued on to the picture. They're not just part of Lightroom. And so you go up here. This is really important. And I think it's a default setting, but it may not be. Let's see. I haven't done this. Oh, okay. So see where it says save metadata to file? Can you folks see that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, one of the things you can do if you're not sure if it sticks to the picture, you highlight your whole catalog if you want, and then click on Save Metadata to File. And this will embed the keywords in the picture, not just part of the Lightroom catalog. Does that make sense? But there's a default which will do that, pardon me, without having to do this as an extra step. And somewhere, is it in library? I think maybe it's in the preferences. Let's see, maybe it'd be in the preference. I'm sorry if I had known you would ask this, because I've set it in my presets. And it will show portion. Here's the store. No, not general. Current. File handling, maybe.
In a similar vein, what about synchronizing keywords between catalogs?
I don't know that. You know, that's a question I have no idea. Can't answer that question. I'm sorry. You mean, so you're saying if you've used certain keywords in one catalog, would
You
they
want all your catalogs to have the exact same keyword list.
keyword list? I believe I remember running across an item where it says export keywords.
Yeah, it was on the last menu.
All right. So my guess is
and then import it.
right. So my guess is after you export them, then you could import them into the other catalog. That's a guess, but it sounds right. I don't want to spend a lot of time. Somewhere in the menus, you should look, and you want to check the box that says always write metadata to file. And that way, automatically, whenever you type metadata, it will automatically be embedded in the picture, not just part of Lightroom. So spend some time looking on the all the menu items up here, and it's a checkbox. In the old days, it wasn't checked. And so whenever I had a new client, that was the first thing we did, is to make sure that box was checked, and then you never have to check it again. If it hasn't been done, as I showed you, you can just say, highlight all the pictures and say append metadata to the picture. And then in fact, it will do that. It will glue all the pictures, all the metadata, all the keywords to your pictures.
I have two questions, Lester. This is
Yes.
Harold.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, you indicated that you have asterisks when the keyword doesn't apply to all the photos.
Yes.
That's your own personal notation. That's nothing to do with Lightroom.
No, that's how Lightroom works. Let me show you. Okay. Let me go to all photographs here. And let me, so these are some mushrooms, and then I'm going to add this one here. Okay. So if I now go over the keywords here, over here, let me zoom in so you can see. That's a good important question. You can see that this is a list of all the keywords that pertain to those 4 pictures. But the asterisk is saying that some of the pictures don't have my birthday. They don't have snowstorm. So
it's a subset situation. Okay.
right. And so, but if I say, but wait a minute, this picture should have snowstorm also. If I delete the asterisk, then snowstorm will be appended to the picture that currently does not have it. So that's a Lightroom thing. It's not a Lester thing.
Okay.
All right. Next question.
The next question, I have always keyworded for the last however many, 15 years. So all of my pictures have keywords.
Good for you.
However, I do store them by date, which you said was El Stupido.
Yes.
You put all of yours in one file.
Yes.
But looking in your upper left there, what I use is that all photographs, which is the equivalent of one file.
Well, all right.
Where am I falling down in that? What should I know?
On the left side, so you must, under folders, you must have lots of folders, right?
Yes, but normally I have clicked all photographs like you do.
Well, that's fine. You're right. The fact that you've keyworded it means that you're not as stupido, right? That's good, because I mean, there's no need to have all those folders, but be my guest. The thing about folders, as I was saying, is that let's say this is you can see here, this is a focus stack, right? It's number 265 to 2201. Now, if I ever want to go back to the focus stack, in my case, I'll go to the original hard drive that has file number 10348, and it will then show me all the originals. In your case, since you'll know the date, you could go back to the folder of this date and find your originals the same way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. So I go back to the date, to the number, but because you have things in folders by date, you could go back to the folder that has the dates and get your originals back. So there's nothing wrong with what you've done as long as you did the keywords.
I have.
The point is there's no need to do that, because even if you have all your pictures in one big folder on an external hard drive, again, you click on the date, it tells you the date, and then when you go into Finder on your Mac, it lists every picture you ever did by date, and you could find the picture that way. So there's nothing wrong with what you've done. All I'm saying is it's unnecessary.
Okay, thank you.
But you did the right thing by adding keywords.
I've even searched, I think you can search blank up in keywords.
Absolutely. You can go up to keywords, which is, for people getting started, that's a great idea. So again, you have to be in thumbnails to go to the search bar. And if you come up here, glad you mentioned that. If you go to text, right, and you go to, not caption, but if you go to keywords, look at you get all these Boolean search terms. So you have contain, so that's, you just type a few letters, contains all, contains words, and don't contain, or down here are empty. So this is a good way of starting to work on all your pictures that don't have keywords. Starts with, ends with, these are all ways of finding things if you don't quite remember how you spelled it or what you called it. So, for example, if you had a bunch of pictures of San Francisco and they weren't coming up because you spelled it wrong, you could just type in FRSC and they'd probably come up eventually. So that's a thing that a lot of people use all the time.
Lester?
Spelling right. Yes.
And so can you search for a date within Lightroom if it's not in the keywords?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the dates are independent of keywords. You do not, if you've never had a keyword, you can still search by date. Absolutely. So that, again, you go up to metadata up here, and why did this change? So, by the way, that you can, this is really cool. Let me just show you this. Let me put, I don't know why date went away. Date, here's the date, okay? Now, what's interesting, so here's by date. So you go to metadata and you search by date, and if you know the year and date. Now, why am I not seeing a lot of pictures? It's because the keyword is on, as well as date. So it's trying to find all the dates that have the word Washington. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Right, so you've got, now the reason I have Washington is I've taken a lot of pictures in Washington, D.C., and also the state of Washington. But what I want to do is, in fact, get rid of this. All right, now it's showing me all the dates. So these are the things that can trip you up. So now it's showing me all the dates I've ever taken a picture. But notice, by the way, it not only that, it tells me all the cameras I've used, right? If I want to find all the pictures I took with my original Nikon D2X here on a certain date with a certain lens, it will do that. And again, this was not entered. This is all in the EXIF data that Lightroom has been reading. So if you're having a problem with a certain lens, you can click here, and this will show me all the pictures I took with, this is a weird lens. Some of this is, when you scan film, by the way, if you scan film, the date is the date that you scanned it, not the date, obviously, you shot it with film. So if I want to find out all the pictures I took with this, let's find something interesting here. With this 300 millimeter macro lens, you know, those are those pictures taken with that lens with a particular camera body, particular date. So yeah, you don't have to use keywords to be able to find things by date. And the proof is you don't put things into folders by date because all the dates are already in Lightroom.
Lester, a quick question on the exporting catalog.
Yes.
You had any difficulty at any time? I mean, I'm asking, you had any loss of keywords or the metadata when you export a catalog?
No, I have not. As long as you make sure that the metadata has been attached as a file to the picture. If you didn't do that and the default wasn't set, when you export the catalog, it may lose the keywords. I've never taken a chance on doing it the wrong way. Okay. So make sure again that the metadata it says attach metadata as file to the picture. So then the metadata becomes part of the picture. And when you export it, you can't lose it, whether you open it in some other program, send it to somebody as an email attachment, the keywords will always be there.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I've got one, Lester.
Sure.
When you bring up a new computer, your collections seem to disappear. You have a cure for that?
You got the wrong computer. I just switched from a PC to a Mac. No problem at all. I don't know what happened. Seriously,
yeah, I mean,
I can't help you on that one. I mean, it just was seamless.
Does anybody else have that problem? Okay.
Like I said,
because I had to rebuild my catalog, bud, and a lot of the data that was originally in the folder, the files, when I re-imported to a brand new catalog was there, including collections and such. But if I generated a new catalog, it went to the default collections.
Okay.
Yeah, gee, that's a weird one. I don't know why that would have happened.
Yeah.
Lester?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You have all the original raw files and TIFFs. They're not in a catalog. They're not in Lightroom.
Okay, the originals. Here's what I do. Yeah. Obviously, when I come back from a shoot, everything, all the new files, the raw files, come into Lightroom. Yeah. And I pick out the good one. I tweak it. If I have 500 from a focus stack, I do the focus stack and all that. But then when I'm done, when I have the final picture, I export all those originals into a folder, as originals. So they go back into a folder, and they go into a folder with the same number that I've assigned, or in your case, you could just put them in a giant hard drive in one folder because they have dates on them. You could always find them by date. So I don't keep all those original raw files. I mean, I have a gazillion pictures. So I only keep it. But if I want to find, if I do want to go back to the original, I either have my numbering system, or in your case, you would have the date. You look at the good one, the TIFF that you like, it has a date in it. Then you go to your Mac or PC and you just search by date, and you'll be able to find all your originals. You just can't keep all your originals in Lightroom. It would croak. You folks are asking really good questions. It's very good. Any other questions?
Now, Lightroom is a cataloging function. On your computer, do you keep them all in a single folder?
Yes, it's in that folder called big files.
No,
Yeah.
That's
Well-
when you import your photos. When you download your photos, you would download it to big
Big
pictures.
file. That's
Big
it.
file. Okay.
That's
And
it.
then you then import it what you want into Lightroom
Hmm.
under all photographs.
Yes. Yeah. Now,
And then-
when I go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then when you want to have a catalog, then you put certain images into a catalog
Well, into a collection, I believe. you
or a
mean.
collection.
A collection,
Okay.
yes, right. So they're always in all photographs, and the collection is where you have little projects. You know, pictures I want to work on, pictures I want to show to my friends, pictures that go to grandma, all that kind of stuff. And you just drag when you make a collection. You just click on the picture and you drag it into the collection name. It's that simple. You can do 1 or 50. It's really
Okay.
simple. And by the way, when you're in a collection, if you add keywords while it's in the collection, it appends those keywords to the main part of the catalog. Now, when I get rid of all the originals, when I export them, they go to a separate drive that's called originals. You know, they don't go into the drive that has all the good ones. They go into a separate drive that has just the originals. I do not keep all the originals in Lightroom.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. And collections are great. I mean, that's what we all live on eventually, is you guys all these projects that we're working on. You know, things you want to tweak, bring into Photoshop. We want to make photo stacks, blah, blah, blah.
Can a catalog go across multiple drives?
Why do you ask these questions?
Sorry.
Julie, do you know that one? You've done
I use multiple drives in one catalog, partly because of speed of trying to get the pictures into the catalog, but I use Lightroom to move, like if I have a bunch of stuff on one drive and I want to put it into the other drive, I could use Lightroom to keep it in the catalog and move it to another drive. But
hold on, the catalog, you know, which is very small. The catalog is just the thumbnails and then, you know, information. Yeah. And you're saying that it's called the LRC, the catalog itself?
No. I'll have I have about, in my original raw files, I have about 300,000 raw files.
Okay.
And so that's a lot to have on one drive. So
yes,
I'll have catalog raw files, and it might have on one of my drives, like everything from like 2010 to 2015, another drive 2016 to 2020.
Right.
And so in the catalog of all raw files, I might have different drives holding those files. And
that I understand.
Yeah.
But the piece of software called Lightroom Catalog can only be on one drive. In fact,
I only have that on one drive, and I keep track of which drive has the catalog file. But in that catalog, I might have multiple drives feeding that catalog.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense. So what you're saying is, I have all these pictures in a hard drive called book 2 terabyte, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could also have book 3 terabyte or book 17, right? So you could have a lot of external drives that hold the originals.
Yeah.
But the catalog itself, what's called the
it's on one drive. Yeah.
It can only be on one drive.
Yeah. But I have multiple catalogs. Like I have one for TIFF files, one for raw files, and one for edits.
Okay.
So I'll have like the raw files will be cataloged on my Seagate 1, and my TIFF files might be cataloged on Seagate 2, but the files are being fed from multiple external drives. So,
well that happens because we have too much stuff to fit on one drive.
Yeah, but just to like if I'm like right now I have to rebuild my catalogs, and it could just take too much time to import and move everything. So sometimes I just catalog them in place and then later move them to another drive. But I use Lightroom to move the files so that Lightroom doesn't get confused as to where the files went.
All right. So what you're saying now, when you go to import the pictures, you have to designate which of those external hard drives you want them on, right?
Correct.
Right. And then that will show up here. It will show up on the other hard drives. Now, you just mentioned something that I want to tell people. I mean, one reason I have a lot of Lightroom clients is that people call up and say, Lester, I lost all my pictures. When I open up Lightroom, it says files can't be found. That's because when you want to move things from hard drive to hard drive, you've got to do it in Lightroom. If you do it externally in Finder or File Explorer, Lightroom doesn't know where you moved it. So when you want to move files, as you're suggesting, if you do it from within Lightroom, no problem. If you do it outside Lightroom, you're going to get all these asterisks which say file cannot be found. That's really important. And obviously you're doing it the correct way.
But you can also just reestablish that link.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you do it wrong, you can fix it.
Yeah, but you have to kind of know where you put them if you yeah.
Lightroom is not compatible with network drives.
No.
Correct. Yeah, it's not a networking system. Yeah, it's a single user kind of thing.
So, Lester, it's Harold again. I have a question. I'm not afraid to show the bad things I'm doing.
Good. We need that.
I do not use collections at all. And you say it's what we live by. What am I missing out on, or when do you actually use them specifically?
How do you, when you have a project, groups of things, what do you do? You know, let's say you want to go ahead.
I use both Lightroom and Photoshop. At the end of Photoshop, I have macros that will save the file to a particular file that I'm working on, like blogs, for example.
And it's so these are folders outside of Lightroom? When you say you save them, where do you save them?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is going to change your life.
Type B.
Right. Okay. Let me just show you. Okay.
The file is saved both in Lightroom, and then I'll run the macro and I'll save it outside of Lightroom.
No need to do that. No need.
Okay.
Let me show you this here. Let's come over here to collections. Okay. Whoops. Why is this moving? Here we go. Here's collections. So you click on the word. I want to make a new collection, right?
Okay.
And it says create a collection. And so it's just create a collection, boom, right? And here is the menu, all right? And I'm going to give it the name. It's going to be how's that?
Okay.
Okay. Because I know Harold has some great collections. And then all you say is create, boom. Now, if you look over here on the left, you'll see I now have a collection called Harold's Fantastic Crystals, right? Right now it has 0 pictures in it. So what I do, let me get out of here now. What I do is, let's say, obviously this is not, let's say this picture is one of those great crystals. I just take it and I drag it over the word Harold's Fantastic Crystals, and it's there. And let's say this one is another one of Harold's Fantastic Crystals, and I put it over here. And here's another one of Harold's Fantastic Crystals, and I put it over here. And maybe this one is Harold's Fantastic Crystals over here, right? Now, these are pictures that I may have worked on, when I bring it into Photoshop, and then they come back in Lightroom next to the original. So everything is in Lightroom. And now when I go to Harold's Fantastic Crystals, there they are, just like that. And I say, you know what? This is not fantastic. I hate it. And you just click delete, and it goes away. Now, you're not taking it out of Lightroom. You're just taking it out of the collection.
Collection is more like shortcuts.
Yeah, just temporary shortcuts. And so you say, well, wait a minute now. This is another one that I want in Harold's Fantastic. So now I can add this one, and I can add this one. And now I look at it, and it has these pictures. And I say, well, these are fine, but this is a piece of junk. So I'll take this one out. And so, when I get ready, Harold, remember the other day I showed pictures at the Macro Club?
Yes, I was assuming that's the way they do it. Thank you.
See, it says Macro Club 910, right? So here are the pictures I showed at the Macro Club the other day.
So do you right click on Harold's Fantastic Crystals and tell it to target this collection?
Oh man, you guys, you ask a lot of good questions, right? What you can do what you can do if you want, you can set up something called a smart collection. You see that up here? Can you see that?
Yeah.
When you make instead of a regular collection, a smart collection has attributes associated with it, and you can define the attributes. You can say, every time I use the keyword crystal, it automatically puts it into Harold's collection. Every time I give it 3 stars, it automatically puts it into Harold's collection. Every time I give it a red border and use the word ascorbic acid, it puts it into Harold's collection. So that's called a smart collection. So you don't even have to drag it yourself. Any attribute you assign to the picture automatically winds up in Harold's collection. Very fast, use this all the time.
Lester, if you right click on Harold's Fantastic Crystal,
Yes?
you see where you can set as target collection?
Yes.
And then you just hit the letter B on anything you want to go there.
God, you guys know so much.
Yeah, I use that if I'm like trying to get stuff for a collection. I'll be going through the catalog and say, okay, I want to try this one, and this one. I just put them to my.
It just saves you from having to drag.
Yeah, you guys are great. You know, really, I love this. If you click on any picture and the letter B without setting up a collection, it goes up here and called Quick Collection. So if you have photographs like here, and you click on the letter B, and you click on the letter B, and you click on the letter B, and you go up to Quick Collection, now they're all there. That's a quick way of doing it. But instead of the letter B going into Quick Collection, you can set it to go into Harold's famous crystals collection. So that's what the folks are mentioning. Yeah, that's great. Again, these are all fast ways to work in Lightroom that saves you a lot of time. Right, just the letter B on the keyboard, boom, boom, boom. It either moves it into Quick Collection, which now, if it's in Quick Collection and you decide now to make this a collection with a new name, you can just click on Collection, create Collection, and now you say, include the selected photos. And now you'll get a new collection with the name of test, for example. Right. And so it's just, again, fast ways of working with all these pictures that we make.
Plus, an image can be in more than one collection.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can have the same picture in 52 different collections. It doesn't hurt. Now, when you take it out of one collection, it still leaves it in the other collection.
Yeah. Plus the collections, update the photos when you update them in Lightroom.
Yes, if you tweak it, very good. You guys know so much. If you tweak it anywhere in Lightroom, whether you tweak it through a collection or tweak it under all photographs, that change, the editing, appears in the collection too. So if you change it to black and white, anywhere that image appears in the collection will also now be black and white. Yep. It's uniform. It goes out throughout the whole system.
Lester, how do you use virtual copies? I've noticed you had several.
Oh, virtual copies are cool. Alan, are we taking up too much time?
Not at all. You have the whole 2 hours, Lester.
All right. Okay, these people are great. They're asking good stuff. Where'd you find them?
Yeah, I taught them well.
You did. Okay, let's talk about virtual copies. This is very helpful. I use this all the time. Virtual copy is when you have indecision. Okay, let me just find something that might be appropriate here. Okay, let's take this picture. Okay, so there's a pretty picture of a flower. And let's say I want to have a black and white version, but I don't want to mess with this. I want to have this also. So you right click on the picture and say create virtual copy. Now, if you look here, you'll see this says 1 of 2, 2 of 2. Now, this does not make another big file on your hard drive. It's just something that's in Lightroom. So now watch, if I go into develop and I just make it black and white just for fun, now I go back to the library and I have a color version and I have a black and white. And these are real set nodes. If I export this and I want to make a print, it finds the original file, makes a copy of the original file, converts it to black and white, and exports it to a lab or my grandma. Now, I can do it again. Create virtual copy. Go into, this is picture number, this is one, I'll be careful. 1 is the original. You don't want to delete that. This says 2 of 3. I go into develop, and we'll do something crazy here. Oh, I love that. That's gorgeous, right? And then we go in here. And so now I have theme and variation. And this is a great way. You can crop one and turn it inside out. You can bring it into Photoshop, and that becomes another version. And you're never harming the original picture. So virtual copies are really helpful when you want to try things, but you still want to have the original nearby.
How's your grandma doing?
Grandma loves my pictures.
And you can put these in into collections as well.
Absolutely. Here, we'll drag this one into Harold's Fantastic Crystals, and there it is. Now, if I delete it from here, I'm not deleting it from the catalog. It's just not in this particular collection.
If you do work on the original photo without making a virtual, you can go back into that original photo and reset everything.
Yes, that's that's the beauty of Lightroom. It's called non-destructive editing.
Okay.
No matter what you do to it in Lightroom and how you butcher it, you just click reset and you get the original back. And that's because Lightroom is never touching your original file on your external hard drive.
Yeah, the beauty of the virtual copies, though, is that you can do like a side-by-side comparison. Like if I, tweak the color, temperature, or convert it black and white, you can have them all lined up.
Yep.
Them side by side, but it's just changes the sidecar file.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So virtual copy is another great way to work. I mean, that's why people live on Lightroom. And also, have you folks tried some of the new AI stuff?
Mm-hmm.
It is fantastic. I got to show you something. Since Alan says we have time, go to all photographs. Let me sort by. By the way, I guess you can sort things by the date you imported it, by the file name, by the label color, the text. All these things make filing things quickly. So if you've given things 5 stars, this will bring up all the 5 stars only and nothing else. This is one of my first macro pictures. This was taken with a Hasselblad in California. It gave me the worst case of poison ivy I ever had in my whole life.
Why you shouldn't shoot Hasselblad.
Yeah.
Oh, I just looked at one today. Ooh.
The ability to retouch, the spotting brushes. By the way, I find spotting much better and faster in Photoshop than in Lightroom. The spotting brush in Photoshop is much faster and easier. But when you have difficult things like I had the one I wanted to show you, there was a real mess in the gills, and there was no way I could use cloning or spotting to fix it. And I just highlighted it and say AI remove. And man, I mean, it did a perfect job. You could not tell, no matter how much you zoomed in. Since Alan says I have some time, I did put something together I can show you real quick. Now, this only pertains to Photoshop and Lightroom. It gets much more complicated if you have InDesign and Illustrator and all that kind of stuff. All right. Now, it's complicated, so pay attention. Things are changing daily with this system. All right. Now, there's plain AI, which is free. There's generative AI, and that's where the credits come in. If you use plain AI, which doesn't generate new content, that's AI that's free. And that's what we're using a lot, like select the sky, the subject, people, landscape. That's really pretty sophisticated. And there's no charge, at least right now, for using those AI tools. And the remove tool, it's in quotes because Adobe says they are currently free, right? Remove tools are much more powerful than that. Now, so the generative AI tools literally generate new content. And so each use costs 1 credit. Remember, when you're doing spotting right now, they don't consider that new content, although it is the spotting tool. Whereas when it just makes a mask of the sky, makes a mask of the subject, that's not generating new content. But when you make new content, each time you use it costs 1 credit. And these are the kind of things that you would use in Lightroom or Photoshop to generate new pixels, so to speak. All right. And again, the remove tool does that, but it's currently free and it's amazing. So here's a rule of thumb, right? You know that when you use the generative AI, you get the progress bar. That means you're going to Adobe's cloud and you're spending credits. If it doesn't have the progress bar, no problem. And so here's how it works. I looked this up. If you have the typical Photoshop Lightroom 20 gigabyte system that most of us have, and you subscribe before June 17th, you can get 100 credits per month. So guys like me and most of you, we can get 100 credits. If you subscribed after June 17th, you only get 25 credits. So if you're new to this system, you get 1/4 as many credits. Too bad. Now, that monthly date starts, so the day you signed up for your original subscription, that's the start date for your month of credits. And we pay $10 a month. You may know that the new people who sign up, it is now going up to $20 a month instead of $10 a month. So when I renew my subscription next year, it will go from $10 to $20 a month. Too bad.
Unless you went to annual.
No, it's 20 a month, but I pay for the whole thing.
At once, yeah.
At once. They say it's 20 a month, but it actually cost me $240. I don't think you can pay by month. I mean, I don't think you can subscribe by month. You can pay by month, but I don't think you can cancel it after 4 months. I don't think that's possible anymore. Okay, so what happens, of course, when you run out of credits, if you're really prolific?
Get your wallet.
Okay, so obviously that's not what we're going to do. So here's what happens. You can imagine what happens. You can buy more credits, right? Now, initially, right now, Adobe is saying that it will probably work, but much slower. Now, that's in quotes again. So good luck. Let me know how it works. Or what they'd rather you do, of course, is purchase additional credits. And so they call them Firefly credits. And so for $10 a month, you can get 2,000 credits, which is a lot. Or $30 a month, you can get 7,000 credits. Now, the good thing is, unlike the subscription, you don't have to pay for the whole year, so that if you just use it for a month or two, then you can cancel that extra credits anytime you want. Now, it's a suggestion. It's how to maximize credits, right? When you use the AI remove tool, which right now is free, but it probably will not be free, instead of doing an area and then say AI remove, doing an area and click, what you should do is click all the areas, define all the areas that need fixing, and then press generative AI once, so that it only uses 1 credit. Now, that'll take a lot longer, but it only costs 1 credit instead of 10 or 15 credits when you very often work on different parts of a picture. So that's a hint that could save you a lot of money. Right now, the AI remove tool is working great, and it works for free. And I wanted to show it to you, but I can't find the damn pictures. Right? So currently there's no charge. So that's, if you haven't used the generative AI remove tool, it is amazing. Anyway, so that's all that.
Lester, are you familiar with the new Gemini generative program, Nano Banana?
No, tell us about it.
Oh, it's something that you can add into Photoshop, but you have to do it by setting up an API. But it's going to be available through Photoshop starting next week.
Really?
And it is a much more powerful generative program than we're seeing here. But I have a separate account with them that I buy credits directly from them at much less than the Adobe price.
What's API?
It's a way that people can use their software production platform to interact with a commercial program. It's for developers.
Mm-hmm.
Application programming interface.
There you go. It's the interface that it just allows you to interact with a program outside of Photoshop. In this case, it's the Gemini program. Who are they with?
Google.
Google, yeah.
So if you highlighted an area in Photoshop and then you'd click a button, that would take you to this new generative program. Is that right?
Yeah, I programmed a few hotkey shortcuts to bring it up and run it.
Uh-huh.
So you don't notice any difference. It sends the picture to Google and then it comes back in a few microseconds, but it just gives better results for me.
Okay, good. I've only
and it does some crazy stuff because you can add voice prompts to it, so you can tell it exactly what you want to replace.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Alan, are we going to be needed at all in the future?
No, no, we're already not needed, Lester. If nobody told you, but we just will entertain one another until it's all over.
Wow. Let me tell you, this is great. I really enjoyed this with these folks. They know a lot, and I've learned a lot, which is good.
Yeah, you are really spectacular, Lester. It's such a wonderful encounter that we got to meet and have done so much cool stuff. I know that everybody looked forward to this, and it will be seen by many more people in the future. But that was an absolute gold mine of information.
Well, I hope people find it interesting. Again, I just want to remind people, if you need to get in touch with me or look at pictures or books or trips, it's just macrophotographer.net. Very simple, and then there are links for everything there.
Where in Tuscany are you going next year, Lester?
San something de Asso. Something de Asso. It's a little tiny town. We stay in a villa that was built in the 17th century. It's got a swimming pool. We have our own chef. It's just 9 people. We go out on the adventures every day in our private van. It's fantastic.
God!
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
it's not anywhere near Campagnatico, is it? Down near Grosseto?
I don't know.
I think I know the area.
What I do a week before the students show up, I rent a car and I drive around all over the place looking for cool spots to photograph. You know, the place we're staying at, literally next door, is an old castle. There's a garden that some artist built of really cool stuff. I mean, you want to photograph all day long, all the time. It's just spectacular.
You need an assistant next year, by any chance?
Yeah, so it's. I've been doing this now for many, many years, and this year I was in New Zealand in the fall. This year we're back in Tuscany. So
rub it in, why don't you?
It's lots of fun, and yeah, you can bring a macro lens if you want. It's allowed.
So Lester,
sounds like you need a filing system.
Yeah, it's the password file system.
Yeah, Bud, you had a question?
Yeah, system settings, keyboard, dictate.
All right, I'm going to write that down here right now. System settings, keyboard,
dictate.
Okay, and for the person who wants to know how I made the zoom in rectangle, just send me an email and I'll send you the information. Just take me a few minutes to look it up. All right, happy to help.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
It was awesome.
Thank you, Lester, for your time.
Thank you, Lester.
Thank you,
Alan.
Thank you, Lester.
Yeah,
Wow.
Notes.
Fun group of people. Someone took notes. That's amazing.
A lot of people did. We need to
I took
decide
notes.
on what we're going to get you back for next. So
Okay.
be
That's
thinking
great,
about it.
folks. I really enjoyed it very much.